Deep beneath the frozen silence of Antarctica, inside a hidden bunker sealed from the outside world, a cluster of scientists and military officials stood around a glowing console as strange signals flickered across the screen, alien in origin, too regular to be natural, yet too unfamiliar to be from any known satellite. Dr. Elise Grant, lead astrophysicist of the UPDC, United Planetary Defense Council, stared at the feed with wide eyes as a chill ran down her spine. Not from the cold, but from the realization that Earth was no longer alone. The signal had structure, purpose, intelligence behind it. And while some debated whether it was a greeting or a threat, one translated phrase silenced the room. Target world designation, 92 Zeta, prepare for harvest. Panic gripped the underground facility like a vice. Earth had always looked to the stars with curiosity and hope, dreaming of peaceful contact. But now it faced something entirely different. Elise turned to General Marcus Reeve, who had been quietly reviewing satellite data. "This isn't a message," she said, her voice steady but low. "It's a declaration." General Reeve didn't respond immediately. He was staring at something else, an image taken by one of the long-range surveillance drones orbiting the Kuiper Belt. A dark, sharp-edged shape drifted in the blackness, unnatural and silent. It wasn't one of theirs. It didn't belong to Earth. That's when they knew it had already begun. The object, a small alien scout vessel, had entered the solar system undetected, cloaked by technology far beyond human understanding. It was watching, scanning, recording, and perhaps even preparing to strike. The Council immediately went into emergency session, pulling leaders from every major nation to a secure virtual channel. Some wanted to hide, others wanted to reach out, but a few, like Reeve, understood what kind of enemy could call a planet a target and speak of harvests like it was just another day. Humanity couldn't afford to wait. Within hours, Protocol Titan was activated, a contingency plan that many believed was just a myth. Hidden weapons platforms, long buried in Earth's orbit and deep space under civilian cover, powered up. Secret satellites blinked awake, feeding real-time data to the defense grid. At the same time, cybernetic intelligences trained for digital warfare began scanning the scout ship's signals, learning, adapting, plotting countermeasures. Meanwhile, on the other side of the galaxy, in a vast throne world surrounded by suns and gilded by the spoils of 1,000 conquered worlds, the Galactic Empire took little notice of the scout ship's report. The humans, they concluded, were primitive. No faster-than-light travel, no planetary shields, no formal alliance with any known species. To the Empire, Earth was a quiet backwater filled with unevolved mammals too busy fighting each other to notice a coming storm. Their arrogance was absolute, rooted in centuries of unchallenged conquest. They had destroyed entire civilizations with ease, bent solar systems to their will, and rewritten history to erase their enemies. What was one more planet? A small task force was dispatched, not for diplomacy, but for evaluation and suppression. 10 vessels, armed with fusion cannons and planet-scorching torpedoes, slipped into faster-than-light travel and vanished toward Sol. But even before the task force arrived, the Velgron 9, the scout ship stationed near Mars, continued its analysis. Its commander, a Zarthari named Vectal, recorded daily reports, mocking Earth's slow orbital junk and outdated satellites. "They are unworthy," he sneered, transmitting footage of humans launching supply rockets and testing missiles like children playing with sticks. Yet Vectal never realized that Earth had already detected him. The Deep Space Defense Array, known only as Black Echo, had locked onto his heat trail days ago. It watched, waited, and calculated. And when Vectal tried to beam another mocking report back to the Empire, Black Echo struck. A beam of precision energy, focused and invisible to the naked eye, lanced through the void and pierced the Velgron 9's cloaking field. The ship shuddered violently, alarms blaring in strange, alien tongues, and a panel exploded as artificial gravity failed. The crew screamed, weightless and terrified, as systems collapsed around them. For the first time in years, a scout ship of the Empire had been wounded by a pre-warp world. Back on Earth, Elise stood beside General Reeve in the control center, as a message was transmitted through the alien's own frequency. "We know you're here. This is your only warning. Leave." Silence followed. Then the Velgron 9 began drifting, powerless, its systems crippled. But the message had already reached the Empire. In their throne world, the Empress herself read the transcript with narrowed eyes. Her advisors raged, demanding vengeance. "A warning? From animals?" one shouted. "They dare?" The Empress said nothing for a long moment. Then she looked toward the star charts and whispered, "Curious." She gave the order. The fleet was to proceed, and Earth, the defiant little rock in the dark, would learn what it meant to challenge the Empire. But Earth was no longer unprepared. The spark had been struck, and humanity had awakened. The stars had called them prey. But what was now rising from the shadows of their blue world was something ancient and ferocious, something the galaxy had never seen before. Not a people desperate to survive, but a species ready to fight. And this was only the beginning. Commander Vectal floated in the flickering light of his damaged bridge, staring in disbelief at the console in front of him, the same screen that now displayed Earth's message. "We know you're here. This is your only warning. Leave." Never in all his years of service to the Galactic Empire had a primitive world spotted, let alone attacked, a cloaked scout ship. His second-in-command struggled to stabilize the systems, but the Velgron 9 was crippled, drifting slowly above Mars. Vectal sent out a distress signal, but interference blocked it halfway. Still, enough of his message reached the Empire to spark an immediate response. Back on the throne world of Veridan Prime, the High Council raged at the report. How could a species without warp drives disable an Empire vessel? It had to be a fluke, a lucky shot, or perhaps outdated tech aboard the Velgron. The Empress, calm but curious, gave the order to investigate and punish. A fleet of 15 warships, small by Imperial standards, was assigned to bring Earth to heel. As the fleet prepared for jump, Earth's leaders gathered in silence beneath the Arctic bunker, watching the solar system like hawks. General Marcus Reeve stood tall at the center of the command table. His voice was calm, but his eyes burned with focus. "They're coming. Now we show them who we are." Deep space scans had already picked up signs of gravitational ripples, evidence of warp entry points. Earth had no FTL of its own, but its scientists had long suspected its enemy's might. Protocol Titan was now fully active. Defense systems cloaked within the asteroid belt powered up. On the moon, automated railguns locked into position. Old myths of hidden weapons and secret stations were now truth. At the same time, Mars revealed its long-secret project, Project Red Storm, an array of ion cannons and drone launchers buried under its surface. Earth was not going to surrender. As the fleet arrived just beyond Pluto, they began scanning the system. Their leader, Admiral Kethrin, dismissed the planet's defenses as pitiful. "Scattered junk," he said, waving a clawed hand across the glowing map. "They still burn. Fuel for spaceflight." His confidence blinded him. When the fleet crossed Jupiter's orbit, it triggered a silent alarm. Within seconds, a cloud of micro-drones, previously hidden within the ice of Europa, launched toward them. Each was no larger than a soda can, but in the thousands, they moved with AI precision and terrifying speed. Frigates went dark one by one, their hulls punctured by swarms that entered through exhaust ports and sliced internal systems to ribbons. Shocked, Kethrin ordered a formation shift, but before they could regroup, railguns from the Martian surface opened fire. Massive tungsten rods, fired at near-light speeds, tore through the lead destroyer, splitting it in half like paper. The fleet returned fire, but Earth's defenses were not standing still. Satellites began blinking on, previously disguised as space debris. Each carried directed energy weapons, focused EMP bursts, or kinetic projectiles. The Empire had expected a weak and scattered defense, not a coordinated strike from a planet that had hidden its claws for decades. Still, the Empire pushed forward, unleashing plasma salvos toward Earth's orbit. That's when Project Helios activated. Hundreds of laser platforms hidden on orbital paths fired in perfect sync, targeting shield generators and weapon systems on the Empire's ships. The sky around Earth lit up like a second sun. Catherine's ship trembled under the assault, and suddenly the Admiral realized the trap they had walked into. This wasn't a primitive species defending with desperation. This was a world prepared for war. Earth had been hiding its true strength, waiting for the day the enemy came close enough. Reeve, watching from the command center, leaned forward and said, "Now send the message." Across the stars, a tight beam transmission reached the Empire's communication array. It was brief, direct, and delivered in the same format the Empire used. "You invaded. You fired first. Earth does not surrender. Turn back or be destroyed." The Empress, now watching from her palace, stared at the words for a long time. Some of her advisors still scoffed, claiming it was a bluff. Others began to wonder if this planet might be something new. Catherine, meanwhile, had lost 5 ships and was bleeding resources. As he prepared to call for reinforcements, a sudden burst of static flooded his screen. Then came an image, a single human warship, sleek and unfamiliar, approaching fast. It was the ISS Vengeance, a prototype craft secretly launched from Earth's dark side using reverse-engineered tech from the disabled Velgron 9. The ship tore through space with purpose. Catherine ordered it destroyed, but his weapons missed. The Vengeance released a series of decoy drones that tricked the Empire's targeting systems, then launched a volley of rail rounds straight into Keythron's bridge. In seconds, the flagship of the Empire's fleet was reduced to silent debris, drifting among the stars. The remaining ships, leaderless and confused, pulled back. Earth had not only held its ground, it had struck a killing blow. Across Earth, news spread slowly at first, then, like wildfire. For the first time in recorded history, humanity had fought aliens, and won. But Reeve and Elise knew this was only the beginning. The Empire would not forget this humiliation. Their pride had been wounded, their power questioned, and their enemies inspired. The scout ship Velgron 9 still floated in Mars orbit, powerless but intact. Human engineers had begun studying it, pulling secrets from its systems, learning how to fight even better. Meanwhile, Earth's leaders began meeting in secret again, not out of fear, but out of resolve. The stars were no longer just points of light in the night sky. They were battlefields waiting to be claimed, and Earth had just drawn its line. One chance had been given, one warning sent. The Empire had ignored it. Now they had a choice: leave, humanity alone, or learn the hard way what it meant to provoke the people of Earth. In the cold silence of space beyond Pluto, the stars watched as the Empire returned. Not with a scout fleet this time, but with a war armada meant to crush Earth. Completely. Over 70 ships, including dreadnoughts, battlecruisers, and carriers, dropped out of faster-than-light travel, like metal giants falling from the sky. They came without warning, with no message, no parley, and no hesitation. Their goal was simple: destroy Earth's defenses, subdue the planet, and remind the galaxy that the Empire still ruled the stars. But the humans had been waiting. Earth's victory against the first wave had been unexpected, even by its own people, but it had bought time. Time to prepare, time to build, time to study. While the Empire had sent engineers to investigate how a primitive world fought back, humanity had already begun to understand alien technology. Teams of scientists and military engineers worked day and night in hidden facilities, learning from the wreck of the Velgron 9. They didn't just repair it, they learned how to adapt its systems into their own machines. The ISS Vengeance was only the first result of that effort. Now more ships were being built in secret shipyards near Neptune's orbit. Earth's fleet was still small, but every ship was armed with weapons designed to exploit the Empire's blind spots, its pride, its predictability, its weakness against unconventional tactics. When the Armada crossed into the inner system, human deep space sensors detected them immediately. General Marcus Reeve stood at the center of Earth's Defense Command, eyes locked on the real-time map. "They've brought everything," he said, not with fear, but with certainty. "Good. Let's show them we're ready." Across the solar system, Earth's hidden weapons woke up. Orbital cannons disguised as satellites adjusted their aim. The asteroid belt became a battlefield waiting to happen. Old mining platforms were now armed stations. Hundreds of drones powered on in the shadows of moons and planets. And at the heart of it all, orbiting high above Earth, Project Helios pulsed with energy. Meanwhile, on the lead dreadnought of the Empire's armada, Admiral Threxus, famous for leveling 2 planetary governments in less than a week, prepared his fleet. He believed Earth was already lost. His ship alone could flatten a continent. The only reason he hadn't fired yet was because he wanted to send a message, one final broadcast before destruction. "Humans of Earth," he said, his voice cold and calm, "you had your warning. You dared strike against the Empire. Now, you will kneel or you will vanish." Back on Earth, Elise Grant watched the broadcast with narrowed eyes. She turned to Reeve and whispered, "They still think they're in control." Reeve gave the order. The trap was ready. As the fleet reached Mars, the humans struck. Without warning, the quiet red planet opened fire. Its ion cannons, hidden beneath layers of dust and rock, blasted several cruisers with electric storms that fried systems and silenced their engines. At the same time, drone swarms launched from Deimos and Phobos, darting between ships and targeting engines, sensors, and shield arrays. It wasn't brute force. It was surgical chaos. The Empire fired back, unleashing waves of plasma and missiles that lit up the void. One of the human stations was hit and exploded in a silent blaze, but the Empire's victory was short-lived. Just as they regrouped, the asteroid belt came alive. Entire sections of rock turned and moved, disguised mobile platforms now armed with railguns and magnetic accelerators. The Empire's rear ships were shredded in seconds. From the far side of the solar system, Earth's first true space fleet arrived. Only 5 ships strong, but each was a masterpiece of human and alien tech combined. The Vengeance, Titan, Solar Blade, Echo, and Judgment charged into battle like wolves among sleeping giants. The Vengeance led the attack, dodging return fire, with advanced maneuvering thrusters, cutting through enemy lines and leaving chaos in its wake. The Empire's ships were powerful but slow, built for fear and strength, not for strategy. The humans moved faster, thought faster, and struck smarter. They didn't try to fight head-on. They disrupted communication, hacked targeting systems, and used stealth and deception. One empire. Battleship turned its guns to fire, but struck its own ally, tricked by a drone echo. Admiral Threxus watched in disbelief as his ships were picked off, one after another. He ordered them to regroup to form defensive formations, but the humans had already broken their lines. Then came the moment that shook the Empire's pride forever, when the Titan, Earth's largest ship, launched a prototype gravity weapon straight at the flagship. A sphere of energy twisted space itself, crushing the forward section of the dreadnought like a tin can. Threxus barely escaped in a shuttle, furious and humiliated. The battle dragged on for hours. Fires burned in orbit. Wreckage drifted like metal bones. Earth lost 2 of its ships, Echo and Judgment, but they had taken 15 Empire vessels with them. For every Earth loss, the Empire paid tenfold. The message was clear. Earth was not prey. As the remains of the Empire's fleet limped away, chased by Earth's final barrage, General Reeve stood in silence. Then he turned to the room and said, "They bled today." Elise nodded slowly. "And now they'll remember us." Across the galaxy, the news spread. Secret channels and hidden networks whispered the truth. Earth had turned back the Empire. It wasn't a rumor anymore. It was a fact. On planets ruled by fear, rebels took hope. On neutral worlds, leaders started to wonder if Earth could be an ally. And in the Empire's heart, the Empress sat in the dark, staring at the final report, her fingers tapping slowly. For the first time in decades, her empire had lost more than ships. It had lost control. Earth had changed the game, but the humans weren't celebrating. Not yet. They were building, planning, because they knew the war wasn't over. The Empire would return. And next time it would bring more than just ships. It would bring revenge. But Earth would be ready. It had struck. It had survived. It had drawn blood. And the stars would never be the same again. The stars above Earth shone quietly as if unaware that a galactic war was creeping closer, but deep. Within a secure base beneath the icy crust of Greenland, Earth's leaders knew the peace was only temporary, something thin and fragile, stretched tight over the weight of what was coming. The last battle had been a surprise, even to them. Earth had fought the Empire and bled it, sent its ships fleeing back into the void, broken and stunned. But victory had not brought comfort, it had brought attention. Earth had made itself known. Now it needed to make a choice, either hide in fear, waiting for the next wave to strike, or go beyond the edge of the solar system and deliver a message of its own. General Marcus Reeve stood in front of a holographic projection of the known stars, eyes fixed on a glowing red dot marked Elnar System, a place deep in Empire territory, known as a relay point for military communication. "That's where we strike," he said to his team, his voice cold and clear. "We don't wait for them to come back. We tell them the truth. They're not invincible." In the shadows of a hidden shipyard near Neptune, Earth's engineers had finished building. Something new, something different. The ISS Revenant was smaller than most Earth warships, but faster, stealthier, and built for one mission: penetrate enemy space, reach the Elnar system, and send a message the Empire could not ignore. The crew was handpicked. Captain Sarah Cade, a former deep space pilot with nerves like ice; Lieutenant Javier Chen, tech expert and hacker trained in decoding alien networks; and Sergeant Milla Roth, Earth's best infiltration specialist. They were soldiers, scientists, and ghosts. As the Revenant launched into the black, no official record of its departure was kept. It was as if the ship never existed. The journey took days. They slipped past long-range scanners, avoided patrols, and traveled through dead systems where only dust and ancient wrecks remained. The deeper they went into Empire territory, the colder it felt, like diving into a vast ocean where something large waited just beyond sight. When they reached the outer edge of Elnar, the stars looked different, sharper somehow, colder. The relay station floated in orbit around a dying red star, protected by a trio of defense platforms and a fleet of patrol ships. The station wasn't just for communication. It was a hub of control, one of the arteries of the Empire's war machine. If Earth could breach it, could plant its message inside the heart of that network, then the entire Empire would hear the warning. "No violence unless needed," Captain Cade reminded the team as they approached. "We're here to speak, loud enough that they can't ignore it." The Revenant drifted close, masked by a signal scrambler built using the stolen tech from the Velgron 9. It passed through the sensor field like a ghost in fog. The infiltration team boarded a stealth shuttle and slipped through a maintenance hatch under the station. Inside, the corridors were cold and filled with humming alien machines, their designs unfamiliar but logical. Roth led the way, planting signal blockers behind them to delay discovery. Chen accessed a console, fingers flying across the strange interface as he searched for the central broadcast core. "Found it," he whispered. "It's in the main chamber top level. We'll have one shot." As they moved, voices echoed from deeper within the station. Empire crew members, unaware that the very prey they had mocked had come into their den. The team reached the core, a tall, glowing pillar of energy surrounded by strange glyphs. Chen set up the transmitter, linking Earth's message to the Empire's network. "We're live," he said. Cade pressed the button. The message played. It was simple, spoken in both human and translated Empire dialect. "You came to conquer. You failed. Earth fights back. We are not your slaves. We are not your prey. We are your warning." The system pulsed as the message spread, not just through Elnar but through every connected relay across the Empire. Worlds heard it. Ships heard it. Commanders froze as unfamiliar words filled their comms. Panic spread in the smaller colonies. On the throne world, the Empress stood as the message echoed through her court. For the first time, someone had used her own systems to speak against her. She clenched her fists, eyes glowing with fury. But aboard the Elnar station, alarms began to scream. The crew had discovered the intruders. Red lights flashed. Automated turrets unfolded from the walls. Roth spun, firing a pulse shot that dropped one of the turrets before it could lock on. Time to go, she shouted. The team ran, chased by guards in sleek armor. Chen dumped corrupted code into the station systems, causing doors to lock and lights to blink in chaos. The shuttle blasted free of the hatch, barely avoiding incoming fire. The Revenant pulled them in just in time. Cade didn't wait. "Get us out. Now!" she barked. The ship jumped to FTL, vanishing into the dark. Behind them, the station burned with confusion. The message had already been sent. There was no way to undo it. No way to silence it. The galaxy had heard Earth's voice. Back home, the people waited. When the Revenant returned, battered but intact, the news spread quickly. A single ship had entered Empire space, stood inside its heart, and left a message that echoed through the stars. No one could pretend Earth was weak now. No one could ignore what it had done. Allies began to emerge, small, hidden civilizations that had feared the Empire for centuries. They reached out, carefully, quietly. "We heard your words," they said. "Perhaps we're not alone after all." But the Empire's reaction was swift. The Empress ordered her inner fleets to prepare. Her pride had been struck again, and this time the wound was deeper. She did not want another battle. She wanted to make an example. She would burn Earth not just for revenge, but to erase the very idea that resistance was possible. And yet, as she looked at the stars, a single thought lingered in her mind. A fear she would never admit. What if they were only seeing the beginning of Earth's power? On Earth, Reeve and Elise stood once more beneath the command dome, looking at the growing map of alliances, technology, and possibilities. The message had been delivered. The next move belonged to the Empire, but Earth was ready. The warning had been spoken. Now it was time to see who was truly listening. The stars had changed, no longer silent, no longer distant, but alive with whispers and warnings, with fire and fear, and in the heart of it all, Earth stood transformed. What began as a fragile world of scattered nations and old grudges was now united under a single banner: survival. After the warning was delivered in the Elnar system, everything shifted. Earth was no longer just a name in the dark. It was a force. The message had spread farther than anyone expected, not just across Empire space, but into regions long isolated, where old civilizations had hidden from the Empress's grasp for centuries. Some laughed at Earth's courage. Others watched in awe. A few reached out in secret. Among them was the Harun Syndicate, a race of crystal-skinned traders who had once ruled vast networks before being broken by the Empire's fleets. Then came the Sornak, mist-like beings who had survived by hiding their homeworld in the clouds of a gas giant. These species had lived in silence, waiting for something impossible, a signal that the Empire could be challenged. Earth became that signal. One by one, they offered help. Not armies yet, but knowledge, technology, secrets the Empire had stolen and buried. Earth scientists worked day and night, blending alien understanding with human innovation. The result was a fleet, unlike any seen before. Ships that could cloak not just from sight, but from gravity itself. Weapons that bent space in short bursts, turning missiles into vanishing blades. But Earth's true power wasn't in its machines. It was in its people. From every nation came pilots, engineers, tacticians, and thinkers who believed in one simple truth: humanity would not kneel. At the head of it all stood General Marcus Reeve and Elise Grant, now appointed as Earth's chief strategist. Together they formed the Ascension Protocol, a final desperate plan not just to defend Earth, but to strike deep into the Empire's core and end the threat once and for all. The plan was dangerous. It would take Earth's growing alliance into the heart of darkness, to the capital world of the Empire, Zareth Prime. If they could destroy the Throne AI, the ancient machine that controlled the Empire's fleets and cities, the Empress would lose her grip on the stars. Without the AI, her reign would crumble. But Zareth Prime was not just defended. It was a fortress, guarded by entire fleets and weapons hidden in orbit, on moons, inside the very ground. Getting close would be near suicide. Still, the Council voted the mission would happen. The Ascension fleet launched in silence, hundreds of ships led by Earth's finest. The ISS Vengeance, rebuilt and improved, took point. Captain Sarah Cade returned to command, her face calm but her mind sharp. She knew this mission would decide everything. If they failed, Earth would burn. If they succeeded, the galaxy would be free. As the fleet jumped into enemy space, time seemed to slow. Each second stretched with tension. They passed abandoned stations, ruined worlds, and dead satellites drifting in silence, reminders of the Empire's long rule. Finally, they reached Zareth Prime. The planet loomed below, black and red with massive towers like blades jutting into space. Above it, the defense grid waited, rings of ships, drones, and strange energy fields that shimmered like storms. The fleet didn't attack immediately. First, they split. One wing led by Captain Cade charged in, drawing fire and confusing the defense AI. The second wing, carrying a stealth unit of elite operatives, slipped through a hidden tunnel discovered by the Haroon, an old mining shaft that led to the Throne AI's chamber. The battle in orbit was chaos. Earth's ships moved like dancers, weaving through laser storms and plasma fields. The Empire fought back with brutal strength, but Earth had changed. They weren't guessing anymore. They weren't afraid. They knew the enemy now. While the Titan and Solar Blade battled cruisers head-on, the stealth unit reached the chamber. It was vast and cold, filled with strange lights and whispers, the walls humming with ancient code. In the center stood the Throne AI, an orb of glowing metal wrapped in cables and mist, pulsing like a heart. Elise Grant was there, leading the infiltration team herself. She approached the core and connected a device made from hybrid tech, a final gift from the Sornak. "Begin the shutdown," she whispered. The AI resisted, sensing the intrusion. The room shook. Security bots activated. The team held the line, firing in bursts, buying seconds. Outside, the fleet was holding, but barely. Ships burned. The ID, Echo 2, exploded in a silent fireball. Cade ordered a final charge to break through the last ring. They pushed forward, engines blazing, ignoring damage. Inside, Elise stared at the core as it fought her every command. Then, with one final surge, the device pierced the AI's center. A flash of light, then silence. Across the system, Empire ships paused. Their weapons powered down. Their formations broke. The AI was gone. On Zareth Prime, the towers flickered. Alarms screamed. The Empress, watching from her high chamber, rose in fury. But without the AI, her control began to fade. One by one, her systems failed. Chaos spread through her. Empire. The fleet had done it. The battle ended not with fire, but with silence, the silence of freedom. Earth's ships regrouped. Survivors gathered. They had won, not just a fight, but a future. As the fleet returned home, the galaxy watched. The Empress fled into the dark, her empire in ruins. And Earth had ascended. No longer the hunted, but the voice that called others to rise. In the days that followed, a new alliance was formed, not ruled by fear, but by choice. Humanity, once forgotten, now stood at the center of the stars. They had faced the darkness. They had lit a flame, and that flame would never go out.